Hello, I'm your host Muse, and today we're here with another episode of the Stardew Valley cookbook. Today we're making spaghetti.
The spaghetti is made with butternut squash pasta. In the game, you get this from Mary Lewis, and here it makes 6 servings.
So first you're going to preheat an oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit and also line a baking sheet with parchment paper. Then you're going to get your butternut squash and cut it in half carefully. Then you're going to scoop out all of the guts and seeds and all that stuff in there so it looks more like this. And then you're going to lay it onto the baking sheet. Now that we have all those guts gotten out, we're going to just use our hands and get water and just kind of lather it all over the squash. And then when you're done with that, you'll flip them over and do the other side. So now we're going to put this into the oven for about an hour so that if you put a fork through it, it easily goes through the skin and the flesh. And then you're going to rotate it after 30 minutes. While it's in the oven, we're going to start our mushroom bolognese sauce. And first we're going to grab 6 cloves of garlic and put them in a food processor just to chop them up. Now that we have that all chopped up, we put the garlic into a bowl. And now we have our mushrooms. We have 8 ounces of white button mushrooms and 8 ounces of cremini mushrooms. We're gonna put that in the blender and again just kind of chop it up and not really make it a puree. If not all of your mushrooms fit, you can chop them up in batches as well. You don't need to do it all at once. So now we put our mushrooms into this medium bowl, and we have here our vegetables. We cut them up a little bit, but we're gonna chop them in the food processor. We have 2 small celery sticks, 1 medium carrot, and 1 medium yellow onion. So we left our vegetables in the food processor, so now we have this medium Dutch oven, and we're going to put 3 tablespoons of olive oil or avocado oil, and then we're going to put our mushrooms in there as well. We're gonna heat this over medium heat for about 30 minutes so that the mushrooms get very soft. You're going to stir the mushrooms occasionally, and you're also going to wait until they're kind of caramelized, which should take again about 30 minutes. Yep, that looks done. So we're going to take these out and flip them to let them cool completely so that they're face up. So now our mushrooms are done cooking. They've got nice and brown. So we put that back in the medium bowl. Next, we're going to take our carrots, onions, and celery and put that into 2 more tablespoons of olive oil in the Dutch oven. And we're going to let that cook for about 25 minutes, and remember to stir it occasionally and wait till it gets caramelized. Make sure to really salt your vegetables, and now that they're nice and golden, we're going to put in our mushrooms and stir it all together. Now we're going to add our garlic, half a teaspoon of red pepper flakes, and 1 teaspoon of dried oregano.
A quote from Robin: "A gentle fall rain and a heaping pile of homemade spaghetti with extra sauce. There's no better way to unwind after a hard day's work."
Now we're going to stir this for about 2 minutes until everything's softened. Here we have 1/3 cup of tomato paste. We're going to get this all in here and mix it up until it gets kind of darkened and kind of starts sticking to the bottom. Now we'll be adding 2/3 cup of dry red wine, and don't worry, since this will be cooked out, all the alcohol will be gone safe for people underaged.
Stir that in for 5 minutes.
So next we're going to get this 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes and 1/3 cup of milk.
Now we're going to stir this all in, and you're going to let it come to a simmer, which could take 7 to 10 minutes. Now we're going to reduce the heat and put a lid on it about halfway, and we're going to let it simmer for about an hour until it slightly reduces and gets thicker.
Now that this is all cooled and while we're waiting for our sauce to finish, we're going to get all of the flesh and put it into the food processor. Now we're going to puree all of this, and then we're going to get 1 1/4 cup of it, and the rest of it you can just do what you want with it. We're not going to use it for this recipe. In this bowl with the puree, we're going to get 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 1 egg, and 1 egg yolk. In a medium or large bowl, we're going to get 3 1/4 cups of flour and 1 1/2 teaspoons of salt.
We're going to mix that salt into the flour, and then with our hands we're going to make a little well for us to put our squash and egg mix in. Now we're going to get our butter squash puree and pour it into the middle here of our well. Now we're going to kind of stir that all in until it gets nicely mixed. In the book it says to make it like a shaggy dough. I don't know what that means, but if you do, there's that piece of information. Sure, that looks shaggy to me. Now I'm going to use my hands and I'm going to keep mixing it together until it turns more into a dough.
Now onto this floured surface, I'm just going to get the dough, and then I'm going to knead it for 6 to 8 minutes until it gets nice and smooth. Now we're going to move our dough to the side. We're just going to put it on a plate and then get a damp kitchen towel and lay it over it for it to rest for 30 minutes.
Now that this has been simmering for a little over an hour, we're going to take 2 tablespoons of butter and get it in here, and we're just going to let that melt and stir it all in, and that's the final step for this.
Now that this has been resting for 30 minutes, we're going to wrap this in a plastic wrap and put it in the fridge for at least 2 hours and up to overnight. And since we're going to be putting this in overnight, we're also going to put our sauce in the fridge just to make sure that it stays fresh. Now it's the next day and our dough is ready. It's been chilling, so it's all good. So first we dusted this pan with flour and we're just going to put it off to the side. And then we're going to put our dough into 8 equal balls and put them on this plate that we have over here. So the way that we're going to get these into those equal balls is we're just going to cut the dough into quarters, since it's still kind of sticky. And we thought you just using a knife cutting it would be easier. So cut it into quarters and then cut those quarters into half, just to make the process a little bit easier and help it to be more equal. We're gonna leave one of those mounds or balls here, cover the rest of them with a plastic wrap or a damp paper towel, then put these in the fridge and pull them out as we keep working on them. Now we're going to get some flour onto the work surface, which we're just using this cutting or chopping board, and then we're going to roll out our dough. So we put flour on our rolling pin, and now we're going to flatten this out until it's like super thin.
So you want to try and get it to be kind of like a square shaped or a rectangle, and now you're going to fold it into thirds or like a letter. So now that we have this all folded, we're going to cut pieces that are about 1/4 inch. Make sure that your knife is sharp and has a bit of flour on it so that you can cut easier.
So now that we cut all of the pasta, we're going to get this into a mound and put it onto our baking sheet.
Now make sure that all of these pieces are well floured so that they don't stick together.
Now we're going to do the same thing with the other 7 mounds, and then in the end you're going to want them to be into 6 piles of the noodles, which is going to end up being your 6 servings. Now while we're doing all of this, you can also get a pot of water and you can start heating it up until it's boiling. So now that we have all of these in their 6 piles, toss them in some flour, which we already did, and so now they're all like more separated and they're not going to stick together. Then we're going to take 1 to 2 of these servings, put it in our boiling water, and then just keep taking that out, putting more in until you're all done.
So now just picking this up with your hand, you're going to carefully plop these in. Then you're going to take some tongs, just kind of separate them. Now we're going to let them cook for a minute undisturbed until they float to the top. So now that they've been cooking for a minute at the top, you're going to take a slotted spoon, we have whatever this thing is, and we're just going to kind of get these up and put them in a bowl. Sadly for us, a lot of the pasta stuck together, so you're going to want to make sure that you really flour it well and you don't really press on the dough when you're cutting it. So we're reheating our sauce, and if you want, you can get some of the pasta water and you can pour it into your sauce to get it to a consistency that you prefer.
So here we have some grated up Parmesan cheese and basil leaves that we're going to use as topping for the pasta. And now it's time to try this. Immediately, it went into my mouth and I went, this is so good. The sauce, I immediately just loved it. It went on my tongue and all of my little happy chemicals turned on. This was so good. Like, probably one of the best pastas I've had. I haven't tried too many, so there might be better, but for me, this is the best pasta I've had. And now, you know how to make spaghetti from the Stardew Valley cookbook. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please consider to like and subscribe.